everyone, welcome to IGN Anime Club, episode 12. This is a conversational show about anime on IGN. Woo! Yay!
Yay!
I'm your host, Marina Sanchez, and with me today is Megan Sullivan.
Hello.
Elena Yee.
Hi.
And joining us today as our guest is Callie Plague.
Hi. Yeah.
So what do you do here? I mean, we usually say it, but I forgot last time. I'm like, everybody knows these people. I always forget to introduce the people who work here. I'm like, oh, by the way, this person actually works at IGN if you didn't know.
I work here. I am the community coordinator, technically, and I also write sometimes.
Write reviews.
I write reviews.
Anime reviews.
Anime reviews, which you should definitely be looking for on the website. Yay.
Yeah, they're trickling out. We put up Ushio and Tora. Like, of course, the moon's been going for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just did Ushio and Tora, and we have a ton going up. If we probably have more up by the time you guys are listening to this. Hopefully, as long as everything goes according to plan. No fires. No fires. But yeah, so we're gonna start off today with Anime Expo.
Yeah, Anime Expo.
Everyone's just in this room glaring at Megan because she went.
I got to go.
I know.
It was awesome.
Lucky
I'm not gonna
butts.
lie.
So lucky.
So I got down there Friday, which was July 3rd, and it was funny because I was picking up my press badge, and the security guard pulls me aside, and he's like, "I'm sorry, you can't be here." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because you're too nice and normal." And I was like,
That's so weird and rude. It's like, wow, okay.
I guess he meant it as a compliment. I think what it is you forget, like, if you're outside the anime world and you have no idea what these conventions are about, and you see people walking around in different cosplay, it looks crazy to outsiders, but to insiders it's super cool. Like, you immediately, I took a bunch of pictures I actually have on my phone, and I posted on our Facebook page, which is
facebook.com/group/IGN Anime Club.
I knew Miranda would
Yeah.
know. So I actually posted the pictures there that you can see, and there were so many cool cosplayers. There was a lot of really good, like, there was Hestia.
There were tons of Hestias.
There were tons of Hestias, and there was a lot of game cosplay. There was a guy who was dressed as Vincent from Catherine, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
and he had Chie from Persona 4 and Yuna and some Borderlands cosplayers. But yeah, there were just as many gamers as there were anime, because there's
a lot of overlap, of course.
There's a lot of overlap. So
in this room too, we're all
absolutely
play games.
Right.
Watch anime.
Yep,
all those things.
True. So anyway, cool. So I got to do that. I got to see some cool stuff at Artist Alley. So I bought a poster of Chrono Trigger, like the end of Chrono Trigger, which I won't. It's really a spoiler 25 years on, but anyway. It's a very sweet. The very sweet ending is represented in this picture. I'll just say that. And then I actually got to go to the Funimation panel, which I wanted to talk about because they had some cool announcements, but there was one thing we'll talk about later that was not announced, which was Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah.
Which was a little surprising because Funimation has the rights.
They had a few panels that weekend, and I was just like watching Twitter, watching their blog. I was like, come on, announce it. But, we'll talk about that later in the episode.
We're going to talk about that a little later. And then I actually got to go to a party for a video game called Soul Hunters and meet the voice actors for that, who do a lot of anime. So there was Todd Haberkorn and Matt Mercer and Vic Mignoga. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I always jack up his last name. And they were really super nice. And Todd especially is a huge IGN fan. Like, has been going to IGN since, like, ye old days of, like, you needed to get a subscription to IGN, and was super excited. So it was great meeting them. I hope that someday they'll come on our show. So we'll see. And shout out to Bobby, who recognized me. A fan recognized me in the ocean of people that was Anime Expo, and stopped to say, hey, thanks for doing Anime Club, because there's not a lot of anime representation on IGN. So
we're working on it. We're working so hard.
So thank you for that. That actually meant a lot to me. I was super excited that he was super excited. So we are doing good work, people.
We try.
Yes.
I hope you enjoy it.
Yes.
You.
Yes, you. You on the camera, you listening as well. Yes.
Listening people, yeah.
Yeah, we're pointing.
We're talking to you right now.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so weird.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyways, and there was a game room, which was really fun, because they had a history of games. So they had, like, ColecoVision, and they had, like, Atari, and you could actually play the games and see how far we've come in terms of video games. So all the way up until this current generation. So I was playing Donkey Kong on Atari, not 2600, it was something else, and I forgot how janky those controls are. And, like, Donkey Kong's this big brown blurb, and you're like, hey, what is that? Is that a walking turd? What is that supposed to be? It was awesome, and you had to like time the jumps in a weird way because it's not precision like you're used to Nintendo sort of precision with their mechanics, and this was not so much. But anyways, I got some pictures of that. Very cool. Definitely might go back next year. Hopefully,
yeah,
get like
a whole weekend. We should
the
be
whole
there.
weekend. Yeah, I was only there for a day because I was visiting my sister in Santa Barbara as well.
Right.
So I just drove down, almost died on the 110 because that is an awful merge between 101 and 110. LA people, you feel me on that one. So good times.
Cool. So did you just go to the Funimation panel, or did you make it to any
unfortunately,
others?
I wanted to go to the Crunchyroll one, and I got there a little late because of traffic. So I missed that one.
It'd be so hard to get to panels and show floor and Artist Alley and everything else like in one day. That's so hard.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
surprised
really hard.
you didn't buy all the things.
I actually went back to get a really cool Zelda shirt that I saw. It was like Back to the Future, but it had Link getting out of like a DeLorean and like the Triforce symbol. And when I explain it, it's not very cool, but it's really neat. And I wanted to go back for that, but the Funimation panel started almost an hour late, and the show floor ended or closed at 6. And it was already like 5:45, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to the Soul Hunters party. I mean, it's a good thing I had a press badge to get into the Funimation panel because they were completely sold out. Like the line was ridiculous trying to get in.
Yeah, I mean,
it was crazy. And the only reason I got in because I was like, press badge, I'm actually here to cover this. And they're like, all right, go through. But I feel bad for people in line. I know people saw that, and I was like, I am so sorry. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's like you don't really want to, but when you need to be there for work, it's like, I'm sorry guys, but this is for work.
I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of nice.
Hard,
you feel a little bit special when you do that, but you also feel like the world's biggest jerk. You're like, ooh, I'm just gonna slink in now.
Sorry.
But anyway, so yeah, the Funimation panel was pretty cool. They showed some pretty cool stuff. So again, though, no Dragon Ball.
No Dragon Ball.
Interesting.
Super.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely start talking about that here pretty soon. But first, we want to start talking about more of the summer shows.
Yes. We all started watching.
Yeah,
yes.
We try to keep it a little bit more topical just because we want this to be something that's a little bit inclusive for everybody. So if you're not super up in the seasons, if you aren't, have something everyone can enjoy. But because it is a new season and you have every opportunity to watch these new shows, which we encourage you to do if you are interested in new things, like absolutely, let's dive in. We're going to tell you what's cool.
Yes.
And what we do and don't like.
So many good things.
There's a lot
super
of
excited.
I didn't see anything that was a total dud.
Yeah, like I feel like last. I just feel like last season, like there was so many more where we were kind of like, like we'll see how this goes. Whereas this time, I feel like when we've been talking, just here in the office, there's been a lot more of like, yeah, I really like that first episode. So I think there's a lot more promise across the board.
A lot of great first impressions. Just to shout this out at the beginning, if you guys want, like a lot of these shows on Crunchyroll and Funimation, but if you're going to watch them on Crunchyroll, we have like a special 30-day trial thing. So if you just go to crunchyroll.com/IGN, you can get like just a 30-day trial. I mean, it's cool. But if you don't have it,
just strap anime to your veins.
Yeah. So, but of course, like these shows are both on Crunchyroll and Funimation, and also Daisuki. So that's for God Eater, but that's late anyway. We're not talking about that today because it's late. They postponed it. Anyway, I have to like write down everything. Let's start with Charlotte. That's cool. Like obviously we can't talk about all the summer shows. We haven't seen everything. It's Tuesday. Not everything's out yet, but we're gonna talk about what is out. So like I said, let's start with Charlotte.
Fun. Very fun.
It's very funny. So if you don't know what Charlotte is, it's about kids in their adolescence, and some of them have powers, and they're very flawed. So what kind of, I guess the premise is like they don't include in the synopsis is that this group of students, like from a student council of this one school, go around finding these kids who have powers and who are kind of abusing them, and they're trying to wrangle them in this one school so that way they can all just kind of monitor them and make sure everything's safe. Like we start off with the protagonist. Of course, we're going to say right now, we are going into these episodes a little bit more deeper. We're not going to just skid around like what happens. So if you haven't seen them yet and you're like, oh, don't spoil it. I mean,
spoiler.
We're gonna talk about it. I mean, it's the first episode, guys. It's not that super spoilery, but if you are sensitive to that, just warning now for this entire episode. So this kid, our protagonist, is a jerk.
I know. They did that so well too. When I was watching it for about the first 15 to 20 minutes of it, I kept thinking, you're a jerk. You're an arrogant little brat.
But it plays well. Like he's it's enjoyable to watch him be dumb. So his power is he can control people for 5 seconds. But while he does that, his body goes limp, and he, like I said, only have 5 seconds. So whatever he does, he has to do it quick.
Yeah, it's a very brief possession that he can do.
Yeah. So he goes on saying that I didn't really find a lot of use for this. It's like, what do you have in 5 seconds?
I did like that one of the first things he's tried was to, look at boobs.
It's like, yeah. It's like,
other girls' skirts.
Yeah, he'd possess another girl and try to look up some other girl's skirt, or he'd pick fights with other people. He's like, oh, if this guy pissed me off, I just pick a fight with, I'd be like possess his friend and just like start punching him, because obviously
he cheats on tests, which is very clever.
which is his main thing. Is he's like, okay, I found like the final useful thing that I could do with this, like, can take me further. He's like kind of cool already. He's got good looks. People already like him. He's like, what if I was also smart? And so he just cheats on all of this. Yeah, he just cheats on all of his chess. It's like, wow, dude, way to be.
It's clever.
A jerk. Yeah,
it is very
smart.
clever, because for 5 seconds he can look at someone's test answers,
right, and
then go around the entire room,
yeah.
And just figure it out from that.
I like also that he's very selective about who he cheats off of, because he's obviously pays attention to the class and see who's smart and see who does well on their tests, and then cheats off of those people instead of just picking randomly. Like, even though he's cheating and kind of dumb, like, he's being smart about it.
He's very cunning, right? Because he even goes to the extent of stalking kids in different cram schools, so he can get into the high school that he wants to by passing their entrance
he wears
exam.
The glasses, like the fake nose, like
I
that's
know.
really gonna be incognito.
It reminded me of Persona. I was just like, Persona 4, but I don't know. But yeah, it was really silly. I appreciated that he took such great lengths to figure out who was smart.
And I like the setup with the girl, because you think he's gonna get her too, where he does this really dangerous stunt where he like possesses a truck driver, tries to deliberately swerve the truck towards her so that he can jump back into his body and push her out of the way, and it works. But man, the truck driver's just banged up from it.
I know. I felt
the
bad
most
for the truck
dangerous
driver.
Yeah, it's just
Yikes.
like this guy is going to crazy lengths to
manipulate this girl.
manipulate
Him.
entirely like the world around him, and like it's kind of cool to see, like, even though he has like an imperfect power, he still uses it to like make everything the way he wants it to.
Yeah, and it's a great setup for the second part of the
Right, because he's one of those kids essentially.
Yeah, and
that
so
they're trying to wrangle, and maybe not to like the same extent that we'll probably end up seeing during the course of the series, but
yeah. So then he finally gets caught cheating. Like, someone's like, hey, you've been cheating. It's like, oh, well, this girl's been watching you this entire time and filming every time you possess somebody. And so she's fine, like, figures out the facts. She's like, hey, you're one of us, kind of thing, so you need to transfer schools right now.
Yeah.
And they don't give him an option. It's like,
yeah,
we
she
know you're
basically
cheating.
beats him up because she can go invisible and starts kicking his butt, which had me laughing hysterically, because
Right.
it totally caught him off guard.
But what I liked was that hers is not perfect either.
No.
So she can only
that's-
basically block sight from one person. Everyone else can still see what she's doing.
yeah. And then also the other kid on student council who can just teleport, but
He can't stop.
can't really figure out exactly where he's going, so he just
Yeah.
runs into stuff all the time. I was just like,
That
why
was
is he being so
hilarious.
destructive? Like,
That
what's
was
happening?
a hilarious scene where the protagonist is like running because he got caught cheating. They like basically confronted him. They're like, look at this footage, and he takes off, and all of a sudden there's just like random like stalls like blowing up behind
Yeah,
him.
it was really
And he's
funny.
like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna keep running.
I think they, like, obviously this is a super intense like comedy. I think we'll also get some drama later on the line, of course, with him. But I just have to bring up one thing that I really hated.
I know what it is, because I hated it too.
The protagonist's little sister.
I didn't.
I hated her
I
so
didn't.
much.
I don't know why.
Every time she popped up, I was like, please go away. Stop talking. Stop talking. Because the protagonist's little sister refers to herself in third person all the time.
And she's a super high-pitched,
High-pitched,
ultra,
like,
like,
little
stereotypical,
girl
cute kind of voice.
Cute little
yeah.
sister. And it's just like, no, stop. Stop. You can be cute. That's fine. But don't stop referring to yourself in third person.
Ew.
Yeah, it's...
Well, she sounds like she's 5. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, I
How
mean,
old is
she's
she supposed to be?
She's like a middle school student.
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
probably,
but she, the
I
way
guess
she
on
talks,
the younger end of middle
so like
school.
lowly then.
Yeah, so the way she
A little?
Well, no, I don't think it really has that vibe to
Oh,
it.
okay.
Like,
I
it's
just
very,
like younger sisters.
It's just
They're trying
very
to
much.
calm
Okay.
down.
Well,
She's just
that's
a younger
better
very
than
sister.
I
much
thought.
like
Yeah.
4 or 5-year-old kid talking. You know, like that's like what I would expect of her from that style of speech. But no, they talk about how when she transfers as well, because they force her to do it as well,
Probably
she's going to the
smarter.
middle school.
Yeah.
While her brother's in the high
Which
school.
makes her
Okay.
more annoying, because
So she's, like, at least
silly
12.
and dumb.
That's irritating.
Yeah, it's just like, please stop.
But I don't mind it yet.
No.
It's weird. I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe it's because you guys actually said it and I was anticipating it. And I was like, oh, I think for me, I was like, oh, she has this tragic family life. This is how she deals with it.
Am I a bad person secretly hoping that she'll like turn evil later on? Like she'll get her own power.
Whoa,
and
that's
go,
dark.
Like, I know,
That
right?
sounds awesome.
It sounds
You've
awesome.
been watching too much of the Black Lady story arc.
Yeah, that
Oh,
sounds
dear.
impossible. She's too sugary
know.
sweet, I think. I don't know.
I'm like sickly.
I'm interested to see.
Yeah, it's just like sickly sweet, and that just
Super.
grinds on my nerves. But
Right.
at least somebody likes her. So that's,
I don't know. I haven't watched it yet, but now I want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I don't
it's
know
really-
if I'll
it's
like
really
her forever, but right now I think I'm still in that family trauma. I get it.
Understand you.
yeah. So, yeah, if you haven't watched it, I'd recommend it. Like,
Yep.
it's more of like slice of
Thumbs
life
up.
with supernatural, with comedy, and it's
Yeah,
a good mix.
It's a very strong, I feel like, a very solid first episode.
yeah.
Yeah, the description didn't capture me,
That's most of the shows. Like, there's this
but
one.
now I really want to watch it. So
No,
Sounds
definitely
good.
worth it. Definitely start with this first episode. We'll see how it goes for the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
few.
Yeah. So, something that also had a bad description that I didn't really anticipate to be that I'd enjoy was Gate. Megan, you watched it.
I watched
right?
it as well. Yeah.
So we didn't include this on our preview because the description was kind of like
Meh.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this looks like a weird harem, like otaku fan dream thing,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, which it kind of is in a way. But it was done actually really well, I think.
I liked it. I put an asterisk because the main character's just blasé attitude towards everything happening was really annoying. Like you're living
So-
every otaku's dream, and you're
What's
just
the
kind of
premise?
sitting there.
So Gate is a show about a gate
Like an actual,
appearing.
like,
Yeah.
fancy.
Are we talking like
gate.
Cowboy Bebop Space Gate?
No. So it's like a magical gate that appears in Tokyo, and it just kind of starts appearing. And our protagonist is going to a convention for some anime product. I forget which it was.
Yeah, I was like, I forget what it is
night.
too.
Yeah, I was watching it last night. Sorry, guys, I was sleepy. Anyways, he's going to go get a bunch of like anime products and stuff, and he's super excited. And middle Tokyo, this gate starts appearing. People are like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then all of a sudden, like medieval,
Dragons and orcs.
yeah,
and-
warriors on horses and like with orcs, and like just dragons are pouring out and killing people, and it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, it's like really, it's comedic up until that point. Then it kind of gets dark.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, he's just like this silly guy. He's like, I work to, provide for my hobby. It's like I live for my hobby.
Yeah, he's like, I'm
I
a
just wanna
full-fledged
support my hobby.
otaku. I'm only part of the Special Defense Forces of Japan to pay for my otaku habit.
Yeah.
And
So
then-
he's very into it. Yeah. And then these monsters start coming out. He's like, what? No, this is like this the convention is
Interrupting
gonna
my
be
convention.
it's gonna cancel the convention. No, I need to buy stuff. And so he goes out to go help people because he's like, oh well, I have to buy things. It's kind of funny and like he's silly. And yeah, so he's part of the Special Defense Forces because so he obviously knows what he's doing. He goes and there's a police officer that's shooting at a guy and one of the warrior dudes, and he comes out with him with a sword, and then our otaku lead just jumps in and like stabs him, and it's like,
Yeah,
it's fine.
it was a weird
It was
mix
cool,
of,
like,
funny and dark at the
Yeah,
same
like,
time.
it
It's like,
was-
this guy is capable.
And
but-
it has really great action as well. Like that's of
Yeah.
course a very big heavy thing. Is like if they just kind of like skimp out on the fighting, and like a big part of this is the fighting, at least for the first episode. It was really good.
Yeah,
Like,
it was really
went
good.
seriously
Like how the
awesome.
helicopter came in and like pretty much destroyed the
Yes.
dragon, so they quickly turned the tide.
Right, so everything's really dark. A lot of people are dying because, of course, they just have like police officers on the ground, and then finally they start bringing in the military forces,
Yeah.
and then it turns around. I have to say a bad thing, but I can't say it. Curse words. Don't say it. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm bad. Anyway,
Oh, me
So then all
too.
the orcs and dragons go
Yeah.
back through the gate, and they
Yeah, so they
decided
kind
to...
yeah, they push everyone back, and then it's sad because like there's like memorial set up because like obviously a lot of people
it's like,
died.
really sad.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
It was
Yeah.
really, really sad. And then you have like the prime minister saying, okay, we're going to put together a force to go explore this gate and check out the enemy and everything. And this is where I get a little aggravated because you would think that the main character would be flipping out like, oh my God, I've always wanted to be a part of a fantasy otaku world. I'm going to be the first in line. But all he does is whine about the fact he's going to miss another anime convention. He's like, I wonder if they're going to cancel the winter convention or
I
something.
think
like
that almost makes him a little interesting too, just because you
that
don't
sounds like a
know
good
what's
character.
on the other side too, and so like if he dies over there, then he's gonna miss everything, kind of thing. And like they don't know aside from like medieval people and
But
like
he
orcs.
saw like the
Sure.
it had flashes of like the elves and the sorcerers.
But
and,
he's got his waifus to defend, so he's gotta.
But
He
you
has
don't get a
fandoms
real
to
waifu. Like,
patronize.
just the fact that he's so like this stuff is happening and he just seems bored.
I don't know. I mean, seriously. I mean, if you had to face down an army of centaurs and like sorcerers and elves, I think
So
I'd
there
be a
was,
little
like-
freaked
so
out.
during the
But
fight,
he's not. That's the problem.
So
He
during the
doesn't do
fight,
anything.
there weren't any elves or like the sorcerers or anything. It was just like these dude in like medieval times clothing.
No, there were orcs and there were dragons.
But there are orcs and dragons too. Yes,
Also,
so there were
slightly
those.
frightening.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
scary.
But that's my problem. Not to be like annoying
Sure.
about this.
No,
but
sure.
It's frustrating that he was so nonchalant about it. Instead of being like, oh my god, that's a dragon. He's like, ugh, I'm missing my anime convention. And I was like, all right, that was funny at first. Like, I laughed really hard, and then after a while, I was like, come on, dude.
We'll see how he grows as a
Yeah.
character, if he does or what happens.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the episode, they go through the gate, and then there's like another army waiting for them.
Of course.
Yeah, but they have tanks, so goodbye. You know?
So would you say that this was better than the description
Yes.
implied then?
I would
Okay.
say it's
Yeah.
definitely better. I love the concept of like tanks versus dragons. Yeah, it's actually really cool.
New video
Yes.
game idea. Pitch it.
Yeah. Those helicopters definitely destroyed the dragons.
Yes,
It was
Yeah.
so like satisfying at the same time because I was just like, well, bye.
Yeah,
It's like OP.
So it's kind of weird. So now, of course, they have to figure out, how to be peaceful. Like that's part of it. Is like eventually they kind of allude to. Of course, in the synopsis too, they allude to like making peace and trying to figure out how the worlds coincide.
Making peace after you've crushed them.
Yeah, it's like by
wrecked.
the way, you guys invaded the wrong time period.
Yeah. You should have come back here like maybe 500 years ago.
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting. Something I'd recommend you watch. Maybe, yeah. I think it's if you're interested in like any sort of military things.
Yeah.
I like military.
Despite my
stuff.
nitpicking
Yeah,
over
same.
the protagonist.
Sure, I mean,
actually
no,
thought it
we
was really
should. Like,
good.
it's good to nitpick just in case. Like, what if he is actually just an idiot? So
We'll find out.
Yeah, we will
Yes.
find out. But yeah, that was good. I think. What other shows do you guys want to talk about next? Like, there's a lot of stuff. We have a lot of comedies. I mean, it's a lot of silly things. I noticed that in Ushio and Tora, it's like kind of a shonen, not really sci-fi, more so of supernatural comedy. And I reviewed that one. I gave it an 8.7 because it was awesome. So we have this kid, Ushio, and he's son to a priest at a shrine, and so they live in the shrine. His dad goes on and on about them how they've had to protect the spear for like 500 years, and the shrine's
Beast
important.
spear.
Yeah, and then there's demons everywhere, and he's like, "Dad, how old are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm like 49." He's like, "Well, then why are you still talking about monsters?" He's like, "You're an idiot," and they like fight, and it's just like really like silly, and obviously they have like a very funny relationship where they don't really agree on a lot of things, and they just like kind of fight it out, duke it out. It's like really good. But this kid, he's obviously just like growing up. It seems kind of like one of the class clown kids for sure.
Yeah.
Like he's just very silly, but he's also super athletic.
Yeah, like one of the girls, like he was really serious because there was the whole demon thing, and she's like, when have I ever seen you serious? So I thought that implied that he was kind of like the typical
Yeah.
class clown kind of kid.
Yeah, and everyone seems to like him. Like,
Yeah.
there was like a cool little soccer game, and he
was freaking amazing at
Yeah.
soccer, and he was like, I don't want to play soccer, I want to draw.
yeah. So he's just kind of like a quirky
Cutie.
kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's kind of likable protagonist, and he has crazy eyebrows, so that's fine.
Wild eyebrows.
Before we get back into like the plot of it all, the 90s feels are so good.
Yes.
It's based on a 90s manga.
Yeah.
And the studios like Mappa and Studio Vaughn, who are animating it and taking care of the show, did like a fantastic job of capturing it. Like
Yeah,
even the
I
opening
got that
and the
feel
ending.
immediately, especially
Yeah.
with his the character design.
Yeah.
There was something about his eyes where I was like, this is just giving me 90s feels
Yeah.
right now. So.
And they stuck to the character design from the manga as opposed
Yeah.
to just redoing it to make it modern. It looks so good and so clean.
I really liked that.
Yeah. So, and like I said, like the music is just like spot on. I was just like, yeah, I'm a kid again.
I had the same feeling.
Yeah, it was just like a really funny show. But kind of back to the plot. This is a kind of like it's called Ushio and Tora, and if you know who Tora is, it's like a demon cat thing.
I think
dude.
Tora just means tiger.
Yeah,
but, like,
so which is why they call him
He looks
Tora.
like a tiger.
Yeah,
but like
so-
super like swole.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Super buff tiger.
Yeah, a really built tiger.
yeah, and so
Scary.
in this episode, this is where they meet, and it's like the title, so it's like not surprising what happens. Like obviously he's gonna meet up, but their meeting is awesome. It's super well done. So one thing I really praised in this episode was that they have a really good control of the tone. Obviously it's very silly. Like, you know, you start off with Ushio and his dad fighting, and it's just like really silly, and like the neighbors like, oh, they're at it again, you know, kind of just like
them. Like,
yeah, and then him just like wanting to, you know, kind of know more and just toy with his dad, and like they argue and it's funny. And then his dad assigns him to go clean out their storehouse, and then while he's in there, he slips on a door that leads down to a secret cellar kind of thing, and that's where he finds Tora. And up until that point, it's like just been very silly, you know, it's kind of cool. And then it gets like just like super serious and kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And
It's like, you're a human.
yeah, like the first time he sees Tora, it's just like super creepy, and it's like so good.
It was
but
awesome.
Then like 2 seconds later, it's super hilarious again.
Yeah.
And it's just like a really good, you know, vibe, and like it's just like a good flip too. Like it didn't feel like overdone.
Yeah, I think they did a good job balancing the silliness with the seriousness. Like when Tora says something silly, like his animation changes, and he gets like this like silly, like I can't explain it, but he gets that kind of like anime silliness kind of animation versus his serious animation where he has all these teeth and he's like grinning evilly.
Yeah, and he looks a little bit. Just like a little bit more cute. Like his eyes get like really,
his eyes get
like,
big
really
and
round and cute,
yeah.
and then it looks like a little more like a cat.
But they kind of
Tora's cute.
it's not jarring, like it's not a jarring switch. I thought it was balanced well.
Yeah, so when they meet, Ushio figures out that Spear has been pinning Tora there for like 500 years by one of Ushio's ancestors. And
Samurai.
yeah, and so Tora's like, hey, let me out. He's like, why?
Why would I do that?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Like, he doesn't even get an answer as to why he should let him out. But he's like, well, Tora's like, well, you know, I can only be let out by human, so you need to let me out. And he's like, well, what are you going to do when you get out? He's like, well, I'm going to eat you and like rain hell over the earth again, duh, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's like,
duh.
then Ushio like runs up and starts like jabbing the spear further into Tora. And he's like, what the heck? And it's like, who would let you out after that?
Yeah.
And then so, yeah, Ushio ends up leaving, going to school and talking to his friends. And then his friend, one of his lady friends, needs to come back and get a notebook from him. So she stops
She's
by
super
his house.
like soon today for him too. Like
Yeah.
it's cute.
Yeah, like the two friends, yeah, it's like obviously like head over heels for him.
Yeah.
And it's fine, like it's cute. It's like it's not done like a weird.
Yeah, it's not in a dumb way where you're like,
Pyramid.
oh, you know, just like otaku kind of fantasy where of course these girls are in love with him. He's actually a likable
Yeah,
protagonist.
he
so it
is. Like that's
works.
what I'm saying. He's actually interesting and he's kind of cool. So I could see, you know, you're his friend.
He's like super good at soccer, but he doesn't want the glory of playing soccer. He just likes drawing, but he's not very
Yeah.
good at it. And his friend made fun of him, but he doesn't care.
Yeah,
He's likable.
Yeah, and so they go to visit, and you know Ushio is struggling with knowing that the spear is down there, and with Tora, and he's like, "Whoa, why is this there?" And like, of course, his dad had just left on a trip, so he's just like, "Well, of course, now I can't talk to my dad about it," you know.
Convenient.
Yeah, and so then his friends come over, and then he notices demons. Like there's these like weird
They're like
bug
fish, bug
and
kinda-
fish demons.
Yeah. But they're like
which is weird.
translucent, and only
Yeah.
he can see them at first.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of like grasping at them, and the girls are like, "What's wrong
It's
with
like,
you?
what the heck? Yeah. And
You're
so-
being weird."
Right, so then he runs down to Tora. He's like, what the heck is happening? What did you do to me? And he's like, oh, by the way, when you open those doors, you let out my
Demon aura.
Yeah. And he's like, what? He's like, oh, it's been brewing for 500 years, and now all these little lesser demons are coming because they're attracted to my aura.
Yeah. Haha. Like,
Yeah, and then of course the girls start screaming because he's like, haha, now they're starting to, you know, gain their form. They'll gain more power, like these lesser demons, and they'll start attacking people. And so Ushio's like, why? You know, of course. And so then he has like no choice but to let out Tora because he has to use the demon spirit to kill him. And also Tora said that he would help if you release me, I'll help you take care of him, kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
like in
how
a
does
moment
he
of desperation.
know?
Right.
Well, yeah,
He's
like
trying to keep his word.
Yeah, there was a point where he's like, you know, I'm still gonna eat you if you let me free, and
Yeah.
Ushio's like, okay, really, I'm not gonna do that then. And then finally he gets desperate, and
Yeah, Tora's like,
basically the spear has
begging.
like special powers that like grants the human wielder, like more
beast power.
Beast power, yeah. It's like
you become
beast
one
mode.
with the spirit. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you become a sort of beast form that helps you slay the demons. So Ushio lets Tora out, and of course Tora goes immediately to kill Ushio. He's like, "What the heck? You promised?" He's like, "Oh, I'm a demon. Haha. Why would I promise to you?"
Yeah.
And of course, like you said, like why would you trust
Why
him?
would you believe
have no
the
reason
demon?
to. Right. And so then Ushio gets really angry, and with a very can we just talk about how satisfying the spear sounds are? Ugh, the sound design in the show is so good.
Yeah, I really like the
it
sounds.
clinks down, and it's just like the best clink. It sounds really dumb, but it's just so satisfying.
I assume it ends with Ushio and Tora
Fighting together,
side by
They're
side.
like just buds, ultimate like instant buds. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Or at least,
so-
at least
like,
they
this
didn't
is
get
cute.
eaten.
Yeah. So Ushio gets the power from the spear, and then Tora's freaking out all crazy. He's like, "Oh no, it's like just like last time." And he's like, "Okay, fine, I'll help you. And so he helps clear out the bugs. And it's a really short fight. Like I kind of wanted to see more of the beast spear form.
I'm sure we
I
will
was
in the
like, I
coming
want more.
episodes. But
Yeah,
and
of
he gets like
course.
this long, like glorious mane of hair.
Yeah.
When he has the
Ushio's-
spear, like he just grows hair magically.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was a
Samurai spirit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it was
His
a real-
ancestor.
yeah,
Yeah, because he kind of takes on that thing, and then it fades whenever he
yeah.
fades out of the form. But it was really great, and of course they end up as not really friends, but some more as
Grudging allies.
Yeah.
It's like you need to stay
frenemies.
here because there might be more demons, and then Tora's so Tora has to stay, but Ushio's like, also if you leave, I'll just spear you again.
Spear you,
So
yeah.
you can't really go.
So basically using him as like the center point to draw like what he's going to draw.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
since that aura is already there, he needs him to stay to help him clear out any more demons that come. And so the episode ends, and it looks like it's just gonna be a super fun show.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like from the really long hair to the cute like we don't really like each other but we're allies now like
Yeah.
vibe. I really liked all of that. I
I also
enjoyed it.
really enjoyed that they're constantly underestimating each other. So Ushio underestimates Tora's power, and Tora underestimates Ushio and like what power he has to like keep back Tora, and like he assumes, oh, you're just a stupid human, kind of thing. I can kill you with one swipe. I'll just eat you. It's fine. And I think that's a theme that's gonna carry through, and probably will be kind of cool. So
Very cool.
I
We
am-
have 7 more anime
more
to get
for
through.
True. Got excited.
this is like one of the best ones. So.
Yeah.
No,
We'll get
it's
through
very
as many
good.
as we
8.7
can.
is
There's
great.
always next week.
That is true. You guys gave an 8.7, or you gave
Yeah.
an 8.7, which
Yeah,
is really
so
good.
it's fantastic. Maybe what do you guys want to talk about next? We out of time.
Gangsta.
Okay.
Which is easily my favorite show of the
So
group. That
good. So good.
Yeah.
So I kind of went into it expecting it to be a lot grislier and maybe a bit more like stylized, maybe just based off the description. But it was much more nuanced than I was expecting. So just, to catch everybody up listening, Gangsta is basically about this pair of bounty hunters, or like basically like, they can hire them for like odd jobs, and they kind of like clean up the city, like get rid of like thugs, kill people as needed, in the city that's ruled by 4 families, like basically like a city that's run by the mafia, or
Yeah.
like 4 mafia families
Yeah.
who negotiate and like broker deals and stuff like that. It's really strange though, because the environment, like the city itself, is really barren. I know Miranda like brought that up when we first started talking about it.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in a sec.
Sure.
But just to finish the summary, there's definitely this first episode just kind of centers around establishing the pair, like who they are. One is deaf, one is not, and then how they react to certain situations. Like there's a prostitute that's being abused, and it happens like at the very start of the episode, and they kind of weave that into the overall storyline. And the reason why I said I'm so surprised that this show is nuanced is because of how they treated that character Alex, the prostitute, and I really liked how sensitive they were in like depicting like just how degrading it was for her to be in that situation.
Yeah, like a nuanced depiction of sex workers is really hard to find in pretty much any form of media. And so I was really pleased with how they humanized her and how they showed like she was doing it out of necessity, and how they were treating her terribly. And then these 2 guys, the handymen, come in, and they don't like. It's not like a white knight we saved her thing. It's
they're
like
just doing their job.
They show a lot of respect for her. They are doing their job, and so I thought like I was really impressed by that.
And they humanized it too. It wasn't a white knight thing because of the fact that you can tell that Nick like kind of has a thing for her, or there's something about her that like really has a personal vibe for him.
Yeah, like at the beginning he was like, "Damn, she's..." Or
no, that was the partner.
Oh no,
the
wait,
partner
Nick is the
silent,
the deaf one.
The
yeah,
deaf
he
one,
has
the
a thing
crazy
for her.
tag guy.
Yeah, and then the blonde one was like, "She's stacked."
Yeah,
like,
but
okay,
it's Nick that
Nick
is watching
has
out
like
for
a
her.
connection to her. Like he drops at the beginning he drops the handkerchief for her because she's all bloodied. Yeah, I really liked the humanizing of both her and their relationship together. Really impressed by that.
But yeah, we should probably actually, and that's like a small aspect of
Yeah,
it. Like
that's
the
like
main,
not even
like the
everything.
main part of the story is just how badass these two guys are, and it's really intriguing, just like what their backstories are, like how they came to be these like basically two cleanup guys, like what handymen are, if there are more handymen, what a tag is, because so Nick wears these two dog tags. And when people see that, they freak out.
Yeah, because...
And he's like, he has superhuman strength. Yeah. He's really crazy good with a sword. He's kind of scary. Like, he has these facial expressions.
Yeah. And he has really good...
He's got good abs.
Yes.
What? I didn't see him.
All the things that you can take away, Miranda, just zeroed in on abs.
I most definitely noticed that as well. During the intro, I was like, "Oh, hi, cool! I already like the show." Yeah. And then obviously I liked it for less superficial reasons going on. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, what's a tag? Like what? It's some sort of like super like soldier type thing. That's the vibe I got from it. Like he has some sort of like military or like combat training that makes him super good. And because he's deaf, he's really good at seeing stuff. So
reading
cool.
lips.
Reading lips.
Yeah. Observing situations.
Can see super far away, which I'm jealous of because I really cannot do that.
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm selling this show as well as I should be.
So
like,
good.
Like, how did you guys feel about it?
I felt like a weird, almost like a cop drama in a way, but not, obviously they're not cops, but it was so refreshing to see something different from anime. Like, I mean, we've seen a lot of moe and kind of cute comedies, and that's fine. There's a place for that. But it's always nice when you get that, like, hard-hitting sort of drama. And it's just like, well, that person's so dead. Yeah. That person just got their head shot.
Yeah, and they don't mess around with that either. They just do it and they move on.
There's lots of blood. So if you don't like blood, I would not recommend this. But it's seriously really cool to see how unapologetic they are about doing their jobs. Like, they're not what's the word? They don't feel bad. Like, you don't see any remorse for just like cleaning up this gang or whatever, like, and killing all of them.
Right.
They just do it. That's their job. That's really interesting to me.
That scene where they stack the bodies.
Yeah.
It was just very efficient.
Yeah. It was. I don't want to see more of like death, obviously. Well, that's a weird thing to say, but I want to see more of like why are they so desensitized to what they do? Like, where did they come from?
It's just a strange juxtaposition with how clean that city is.
So that's a thing I had a problem with.
For you, yeah.
So this is a, criminal area, like where there's a lot of drugs, there's, prostitutes, there's gangs, a lot of violence, obviously. But the city is just really clean and empty.
Very
they're
empty.
Like, oh yeah, there's plenty of other women and children around that are in these bad situations.
Single one.
It's like, oh, I saw 2 background characters in one scene with Alex. Like she was in an alleyway and she was like sad after she had just finished doing something. And then it zooms out, and that there's just like people walking around the street. That's like one of the only times I saw just random side characters.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like I'm really digging the show, but it just felt really weird and definitely pulled me out. It's like, why is this city so clean? Why aren't there other people? I mean, like, why isn't there like a trash bag just all on the ground?
Especially because you mentioned the architecture, right? So when you watch this show, everything feels cramped. Like you're in like one of those like really old European cities.
Yeah, it's
right?
like fake anime Europe, basically.
Yeah, exactly, right? So like the buildings are really cramped, like the walkways are really cramped. Like it feels like there should be people or like at least debris and garbage and graffiti.
Especially for a crime-ridden city like that, you'd think
but there's none of that.
Yeah.
It's just like white. Like even like the colors, like it's like beige, white,
it's
kind of.
It's bleached out kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't particularly like it that much, or I just don't like the environment. It just feels off.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like some weird style thing. Like they're purposely doing this kind of like a contrast between, you know, these character stories versus like it's almost
or
like
what's actually going on.
What's
in the city.
actually going on? Like it's almost like
nice,
they purposely are trying to keep them isolated because that's like what their life or their existence feels like to them. Like I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see more and if there is anything different, but if not, it just feels right now. It just feels empty, and it takes me out of the show a little bit. It's just
Totally
like,
fair.
what is happening?
That's
All right.
a very good point.
Yeah.
I think that the show has a lot of promise, though, especially with the character development. I'm interested in seeing more of their stories, and especially the Nick and Alex dynamic. Really liking that so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know what tag is. I'm excited for the next episode.
I'm
For
very
sure.
excited for
Yes.
next episode.
Yeah. So, what else have you guys been into?
Total tonal shift. Snow White with the red hair.
Very, very different.
Very, very different. So like that is going from like hard hitting, like blood. Although by the way, even though there's a lot of blood, it didn't actually bother me. And typically,
Is that something that bothers you?
so in Gangsta, like watching, like seeing like those scenes with the blood and stuff, it's still not like fountains. So like it didn't
it's
bother
stylized.
me. It's
It's
very
not-
stylized.
yeah.
Again, very nuanced handling of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, going from that to something like Snow White, which is like very tropey shoujo, like very like follows like, almost like romance novel, like where you're like hitting all these points, right?
So, I felt like the show was over at the end of the first episode. I was
That's
like, okay,
exactly
it's
how I
done.
felt.
I was like, I feel like you just
God.
told the story in like 20 minutes. We're done.
I was like, this could have been some regular princess movie and it was all told in the first episode, and there was like Princess Bride vibes where he's like, oh yes, I've trained myself to poison, and I just like I was like, I don't need to watch any more of this almost because this is everything.
It's a really pretty show, but
It is.
and it was cute, but now I just don't see where this is going. It's
yeah,
like,
where
okay,
are they going to take it
what's
from
the
there?
conflict?
So-
Yeah.
She got away.
Just to get everyone back on this page, everyone listening. Hi, everybody. The story is essentially about this girl who has very unusual hair. It's red hair. It's like, yeah, Callie.
Job.
And
That's me.
this prince who's kind of empty, bird brain prince, very arrogant and self-centered and spoiled, decides that, hey, like, I want the most beautiful woman in the kingdom to be mine, but not even as a wife. You're going to be my mistress / concubine. And he doesn't even go himself. He sends some dude to tell her, like, report to the palace tomorrow. You're going to be this dude's mistress. And she's
Have
like,
fun. He only likes you because you're weird with weird red hair.
and you're pretty. And so, and she's like independent woman. She has her own like herbal shop. She's essentially, that era's or that world's version of a doctor. So
Right.
she knows, all the different plants that she can use to heal people or make people feel better. And she's running this shop, and this guy comes barging in and tells her like, yo, you're just going to be, some dude's plaything. And she's like, nope.
Heck no.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. Peace,
Bye.
everybody. So I thought it was really sweet, like a nice sign of her character that she says she stays up all night. She makes like a bunch of different remedies for people that she cares about, like lays them out on the table, labels them for who needs what, and then like chops off her hair and like takes the first cart out of the kingdom.
She leaves her ponytail as kind of like a memento, like, you want my hair so bad, here it is, and then she pieces out. And that's something I liked about the show. Like, you can complain, like, I didn't like how the plot, there was like pacing problems
issues.
because
it's very thin.
I definitely felt
Yeah.
like the show just was over after the first episode, but I did like that she was very much not about being his toy. She's like, I'm a person. He doesn't like me for any like noble reason. I'm not going to take this.
Yeah.
So I admired that about her character.
Yeah. So she ends up running into this trio of like other people randomly.
They gave me Fire Emblem vibes, those people. I don't know what
Yeah.
it was.
And so, she meets up with them, and she tries, they ask her, what are you doing here? She's like, well, I'm running away from a bad situation, but I'm an herbalist, and looks like you got hurt, so I can help you. And this guy that got hurt is very, aggressively defensive about it, and he says, well, how do I know you're not trying to poison me?
Yeah.
She's like, fine, and she injures herself to prove that, what she has
That her
to
like
offer him.
salve will.
Yeah, won't kill him.
Yeah.
And that kind of starts this kind of basic friendship, right? I don't want to go like into the whole thing, like recap, but it's very shoujo, right? Like where it's like, oh, like you run away from one guy who wants you and you don't want him, and then you meet this other guy that you kind of start of like have this vibe with, and he says all the things to you that you want to hear.
Oh yeah, that was the thing where he just kept saying the right things, and I was like, this is too perfect. What's wrong with him? Like,
right?
What are you hiding?
And so here's where I start getting to the nitpicky stuff, right? Where he would just randomly bust out with this stuff, and I'm like, where did that come from? And I think that's like, what do you mean by pacing, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, this guy doesn't really seem like he has that kind of thoughtful personality, and so for him to just kind of like almost arrogantly just say like this is how it should be, and she's like, you're amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you get out much?
Yeah, which is weird because she had been so adamantly like, I am not a thing, and then she meets this guy and she's like, oh, he says all the right things.
Yeah, she becomes a damsel in distress as soon as she meets him.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Oh my god, he's so perfect. Oh, Zen. His name is Zen. And when she first sees him, it's like sparkles. Like, oh.
I know, he's like jumping. He's like jumping over this wall.
She's like, oh, hello.
And then he looks at her, and then of course he looks at her and he trips, and so he like botches his landing, which was kind of cute. But
that was cute. But yeah, so there were just things where I was like, what? How are you explaining how quickly they're getting along, which should have taken several episodes at least.
Yeah, if you really wanted to draw it out, right? And then,
so where are they taking it after?
Yeah, and so there's the whole thing where, someone tries to poison her, but it ends up being Zen instead, and so she has to
poison apples, no less, hence the Snow White.
And there was a lot of Snow White references, like they were talking about like a dwarf at one point. It's like, I'm not a
dwarf.
That
was mirror on the wall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's that whole thing. Yeah, so
But I did like the one scene where she stood up to the original prince dude, and she's like, "Nope."
Raj.
Yeah, Raj.
Prince Raj.
And he like goes to touch her, and she just goes whack, like do not touch me.
I don't know. I was a little bit annoyed that at the end, though, Zen is like miraculously better, and it's like the Princess Bride thing.
Yeah.
It's like, never trust a Sicilian when death is on the line.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very Princess Bride.
And he comes in and he's fine, and he kind of rescues her. And I was kind of hoping that she would either rescue him, doing some sort of clever thing to get the antidote, or would just come up with a salve or something. I was a little bit, I was a little bit like,
exactly.
I thought she would go make her own antidote because like the whole thing was like, oh, only one person has the antidote, and you have to give yourself up. And I was like, she's an herbalist. Surely she could go into the forest and figure something out.
I thought that's what it was going to be, and she'd work around and she'd kind of save the day when he was trying to save her, and be very cute.
Right.
Yeah. And then I wanted her to like chew out the prince, and she was just like, she just kind of said like one thing, like, give me the antidote. And I'm like,
give me the antidote.
No, where's like the I'm not your plaything? Like,
she
I
just
wanted
seems
that.
very reserved in a way, though. She's not.
Well, it was just uneven.
Yeah, it was.
She smacks, right? So she smacks his hand away, and then instantly she's like, do what you will with me. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, that was weird.
Well, I mean, I get it. Like, she was like...
She was trying to play the game, I guess.
Yeah,
but
she's like, I guess if I'm going to be here, but don't touch me.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But I just,
gonna save the prince,
but just
dude.
going directly from that to, yes.
Yeah, so I totally thought she was supposed to say, no, I'm going to go make my own antidote.
That's exactly what I was expecting. And then I was like, okay, next episode, we'll figure out what happens. And, yeah.
And then why did he even need the antidote if he was building an immunity to the poison the whole time?
Definitely. I think uneven is a very good word to describe it.
Very
like
good.
You said.
Yeah.
Like, it's just... I totally expected it to go in one direction, and then it kind of flopped at the end.
And then at the end, they like show this montage of like all the characters together, and I was also
like, it's over.
Bye. They live happily ever after, because like you guys said, like where is this gonna go from here?
I know. I don't know. So this is based on a manga that's still going.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're just faithfully reproducing how this started. I didn't have a chance to look into that, or if they're actually trying to like draw it out somehow because maybe it was really slow. I don't know, like really fast in the beginning. I don't know. But it's a very strange opening. Because she didn't come up with her own antidote, it doesn't feel like there's that like really tidy like segue into her becoming like Zen's personal physician sort of thing, right?
Right. Who knows?
Yeah.
I guess we'll see what the challenge is next time, or what
we'll see. I'm really hoping this one doesn't turn out like Arslan did for me, where I had really high hopes for it, and then it just kind of like peters out for me because of like pacing issues and like the story not quite flowing quite right.
Yeah, well, we'll see, I guess. Pace change. Let's talk about murder.
All right.
So, Rampo Kitan. You're reviewing it.
I am reviewing it.
Let's talk about it.
Yes. Okay, so I got super excited because of like the history behind this anime. So it's not based on a manga or anything. It's actually based on a Japanese mystery writer called Edogawa Rampo, which is kind of he took the name from Edgar Allan Poe, so it's like Edgar Allan Poe. So, and the anime is being made in honor of the 50th anniversary of his death, which is, I believe, the 28th of this month.
Oh, wow.
And because he was kind of a macabre guy, I think that's fitting for him. And so it follows the protagonist kind of wakes up in a classroom, and his teacher is dead and dismembered in the front of the classroom. And he's just kind of point blank, like, oh, now my life is interesting, haha. And which we'll get to this, but I did not like the protagonist at all. But I did like other things about it. There were cool, like, environmental things. Like, before the protagonist really pays attention to anyone, they're in all gray. Before he deigns to give them any attention, kind of. That's the feeling I got from this. Mm-hmm. This guy, this kid, he's like 13 or something. They're in all gray and they're talking, but you don't notice them, and it kind of gave it the creepy atmosphere I was looking for. And so it's kind of, the whole anime is supposed to be like an amalgamation of Rampo's works. Rampo Kitan is like the mysterious stories of Rampo. And this first episode is called The Human Chair Part 1, and the Human Chair is a Rampo short story about human chairs, as you might imagine. So basically, I think it's self-explanatory. So a kid detective, like a high school, like 17-year-old detective, comes in. And he's like, I've got my eye on you, and well, he doesn't say it like that, but but so finally, the protagonist, this kid, is like, his name's Kobayashi. He's like, oh, my life's interesting. I'm going to figure out who the actual killer is and clear my name, but it's going to be this fun game, and haha. But he's really annoying.
It's so weird that he has that attitude.
I know. He's not horrified at all.
He has no, he's like, oh, sensei? When he finds the body, he's like, oh.
The body, first of all, is missing its head.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anybody ask about where the head was.
Right.
It just wasn't there. And his arms were, like, placed in his legs. It was, like, this weird...
It's folded in this kind of weird shape.
Yeah.
Like a chair in a way.
It was a chair kind of shape. And he's just unfazed. Just completely like, oh, so Sensei's totally dead. And just unfazed. It's weird.
There's just no explanation for why he's so bored with his life.
I'm assuming it's like a sociopath kind of thing, but that was never really explained.
Even if there were just like a few sentences about who this kid is or what he does, like the only thing we know is that he looks kind of like a girl and people mistake him for being a girl.
People think he's a girl,
but he's a guy.
And that's the only background we get on him. Okay. He's not a girl.
Yeah.
And so he's just like a pretty boy. And
yeah. But everything else is really cool. Like I do like how the people are grayed out until he pays attention to them. Like I think that's a cool technique. At first I was like, well, is this lazy because they're just not drawing them out? But I think
that was intentional.
I think, they do it really well.
So obviously I will do a more in-depth analysis in the review, which you should be looking for, and stuff. But so I liked the atmosphere, I liked the environment, I liked where this plot was going, but the protagonist, I was just kind of like, why you? Why am I stuck with you? Yeah. Like I would rather have any, like their new teacher that comes in like the day after their old teacher is dismembered in the classroom. She comes in and she kind of reminded me of Harime from Kill la Kill, where she was like super peppy and like, I'm so cute, woohoo! I'm 30 years old, but I'm so cute, and I'm in my like Lolita dress, and I'm trying to relate to the
homeroom teacher. It's fine.
Yeah,
no
she's
word
like,
happens.
She's
whatever.
Like, I need new friends. Let's be friends on social media or whatever. And so she comes in. I was like, I bet she's gonna be evil. Like I was just like so ready for her to be evil.
And you see,
I was like, she should be the protagonist. I want her to be like I don't care about Kobayashi, who is so bored with his life that he just is like, well, cool. Now my teacher's in this horrible tragic death, and now my life is finally interesting, and I'm going to play this detective game, because life is a game. Like,
yeah. So it's definitely an interesting show, and I want to see where it goes. Like I love murder mysteries; they're really fun. Me too. They're cool.
And I used to be super into Edgar Allan Poe, and Edgar Allan Poe's credited with the first detective story, and so because Edogawa Rampo was so into Poe, like you can definitely feel his influences, and I really like that. So I'm definitely going to keep watching the show and see if this protagonist gets any better for me. But I'm like, it was almost.
We've had 2 or 3 like shows where we really liked the show. We weren't crazy about the protagonist. It's kind of interesting.
Like Gate.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely interested. As we saw, it's like a part 1, so of course they're going to kind of round it up.
Right.
Ends with Kobayashi getting taken away.
Yeah.
by the cops.
So, good.
Yeah,
Take him away.
He's like, yes, this is about to get fun. It's like, what's your problem?
I was like, okay, light Yagami. Like, okay. So, I was like, take him away. I don't care. But, yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. So definitely let us know what you guys think about that one. And who did it?
Do you guys know how long that series is going to be?
No.
Probably just 12 episodes. I don't think there's been anything that said it's longer than one cur, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a one-off thing to celebrate the author's death, which is so macabre, but I kind of like it.
But it's so appropriate.
But I kind of like it, yeah.
Yeah, so let's hit on one more show before we bounce to Anime Watch Party, because it is getting
Dragon Ball?
late in the hour. Yeah.
I just want to give her a shout out
I
real fast
forgot about
because people
Dragon
have been talking about it.
How did you forget about Dragon Ball?
I had this list of things. I'm like, oh yeah, and then I forgot to look down. Oh yeah, no legal Dragon Ball stream.
But
Yeah.
really quick shout out to Roku no Yusha, because people were talking about it a lot on Twitter. So that's like the 6 brave heroes. So I'm reviewing that, and I'll just quickly say that I really like the fact that it's sort of like taking place in like an Aztec empire, which I think is a really nice change of venue. And I loved the sort of frenzied action and like the fighting style. But again, there is an annoying protagonist who keeps proclaiming himself the strongest man in the world over and over and over and over and over and over.
Maybe if you say it long enough, it'll become true.
Well, it's played for comedy, but it just after a while you're just like, I get it, dude. But really good art direction, really good action.
Just gotta believe it.
Yeah, you just gotta believe it.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Perfect.
Dragon Ball Super.
Anyway, moving on.
So we're kind of in a dilemma right now where there's no legal way to watch Dragon Ball Super, and a lot of people have been asked us, hey, where's the Dragon Ball Super review? Why haven't you guys done that? Because there's no legal way to watch it. Yeah. So we understand there are other ways to watch it, but
we don't
condone
that.
Yeah, I mean, you want to support what's going on. Like, I understand there's super fans out there. Like, I understand, if you just can't get it, then you're going to find a way. And I mean, I get it, but also we cannot do it. Like, we will not review it yet until it comes out. So, that off the table. Oh, no one has it.
I know.
I mean, it is very disappointing that we haven't seen anybody with the license for Dragon Ball Super. I thought that was going to be something we were going to see at Anime Expo for sure.
Yeah, I was really surprised that Funimation didn't announce it, because I swear at one point they teased it, because they were talking about Dragon Ball Z something or another, and then they're like, we might talk about something else later on. I was like, oh, and then it was like,
they might have been talking about the movie though.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's probably what it is.
If you guys don't know, Funimation holds license for most of the Dragon Ball properties, so that's why it's kind of like the next step is, of course, Funimation's going to have it. But as of right now, as far as we know, they don't have it.
Yeah.
Or the license
There's
for
no
Dragon Ball
news
Super.
about it, at least.
Right, and so there's tons of signs saying that, we're going to have an English version of Dragon Ball Super. Like in the press releases, they're like, oh, Dragon Ball Super is a name, but it's not confirmed for the English edition or whatever. So they have mentioned, or Toei has officially mentioned that it is going to be a thing eventually, but it's just strange that we don't have it now. And I feel like that's bad because, of course, people are already watching it. So then, I don't know. It's like, well, if you find your stream and you get settled in where you are, then what encourages you to go back to the official stream or whatever?
You're losing. Whoever ends up with the license would be missing out on viewership, possibly. Yeah. So that's kind of a bummer.
Well, maybe it has to do with maybe they're banking on the fact that people want to watch it dubbed.
Yeah, I mean, that is also true. I mean, I'm sure plenty of people will go back for the dub. I mean, it's
for
just
that nostalgia.
It's just definitely a shame that there is no Dragon Ball Super official stream right now. Especially since you're kind of missing it. Like a lot of people are talking about it, and it's like, what I want it now.
It's unfortunate because I imagine from the little that I know, I'm sure that just negotiating that license is incredibly complex. Just because it's so huge, there's probably just so many aspects that they can and want to monetize or possibly control. So for all we know, this could be being getting caught up and delayed because they don't have the voice actor that they want for the English dub, or Toei says we would really like you to do this in particular when you're advertising it, or
there could be a billion reasons.
Yeah, there could be a million reasons for why.
Yeah, we don't know. And of course there have been people posting the opening and stuff, but of course all that is also illegal. I was really frustrated because I went to Toei's YouTube page and they had some teasers and stuff posted for Dragon Ball Super, but they're unavailable. I don't know if it's because we're in the U.S. or just if they made them unavailable, but you just can't get them now. It's just kind of weird how they've had this kind of very closed doors, like, oh, Dragon Ball Super's here, but not for anybody else in the world, just Japan. So I don't know. Let us know what you guys think about this. Like, what do you think? When do you guys think we're gonna get it? Like, I mean, I'm curious. Like, Resurrection of S is coming later this year, so I don't think it would come out any later than that because that seems a long time. But hopefully we'll see something pop up soon.
Yeah, hopefully later this month.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want more Goku.
I really want to see
Goku.
if I can like start this series with this and not be completely confused the whole time. Just like
Yeah, because like the last time I watched anything Dragon Ball was like my memories are so shot. It's been so long. So no, I wanted to watch it. I wanted to happen legally.
Yeah.
Support what you like.
Yeah, I mean, the reason we stress that so much is just because if we don't support the industry, then we're not going to get more cool things.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's weird. Like, you're like, oh, well, it's free here. I mean, as a kid, like, I illegally streamed stuff because that was the only way I could get it. And then as I grew older, I learned, how to get, and as of course we have Crunchyroll and Funimation and Hulu and Daisuke and like a bunch of other stuff. Now that we have the options, it is important to support things. I mean, even if,
yeah, you
it's hard.
Trust me and Megan that you don't want it to go back to what it used to be.
No.
You really don't.
In the dark time.
In the dark times.
It's just really hard to get stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yay anime!
Yay!
It's just
Positive
like,
note.
oh, just sad. But yeah. So let's just go ahead and jump into Watch Party.
Yay!
We'll make it kind of quick because there's just so much stuff, guys.
There
just so much
is.
stuff. We could make the show 2 hours. We would, but
Do you want me to report on my investigative findings, or should that wait?
can we hold it to next week?
That's cool.
We're gonna hold it. So
Yeah.
Elena has some cool stuff.
Not
about
super cool.
phase
I
age.
just went back and because I was so obsessing over it last week that I went back and I figured out the times and what they said, so we can talk about it later.
You're gonna pull the shonen anime and be like, on our next episode of Anime Club, we unveil.
Power up.
Yeah. Okay, so for this week's Anime Watch Party, of course, if you guys don't know what this is, every week we watch 2 episodes of Cowboy Bebop or whatever anime we're watching at the time, which right now is Cowboy Bebop, and we talk about it. We read your guys' comments. We want to know what you guys think. Of course, you can hashtag IGN Anime, so IGNIME, and we can find your comment, or you can email us at IGN_Anime Club@IGN.com. So join in. We want to know what you're thinking. We want to watch this with you. Yeah. It's a party. Anyway, I know some people have finished. Yeah, we got behind, so some people already finished the show. I'm like, you lucky.
Oh, and one note. It's probably going to be over by the time you see this, but Cowboy Bebop on Blu-ray has been on sale really often for some reason on Amazon this month. So it was like $30 earlier this week, and it's $24 today. Steal of the day. Yeah. But just in case if you don't have streaming and you want to, catch up or join us, like that's one way you can do it as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so our people here are pretty good about posting the deals for those too, so that's always fun to have. Also, it's just nice to have anime on Blu-ray.
Yes.
So this week we watched episode 19, Wild Horses, and episode 20, Pero.
Don't look at me.
French.
I don't speak any French.
I don't know any French. Yeah.
Because the way they pronounce it in the show, I forgot how they pronounce it in the show.
Is it Perot?
Perot le Fou. That's what we're gonna go with, guys. French. I know Japanese, not French.
Yeah.
And we have a few comments. So we're gonna, of course, jump into Wild Horses, episode 19. And Enter Audio at Enter Audio on Twitter said, "I think one message of Wild Horses is to respect your elders, and that seeming remnants of the past still have something to offer."
Oh,
I'm terrible at reading.
Seeming remnants,
I was like seeming
remnants that seem to remain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so thank you for your comment.
Reading's hard, you guys. Languages are hard.
I'm
We had
bad.
trouble with English. We have
Guys,
trouble
I
with
can't.
French.
I
Yeah,
write for a
words.
living.
We don't do it.
We don't work
words.
with words at all.
No.
What words? Anyway, yeah. So thank you for your comment, and yes, it was a fun episode. It's kind of cool to show off a little bit more of just like a little teeny bit of Spike's past. I was just blanked for a second. I was like, wait, what? But yeah, Spike's past. You just kind of see how he got his ship,
Yeah.
and also Columbia.
I
Which is
loved
sad.
that. I loved the
And cool.
ending where they bring it out and they've souped it up a bit so that they can fly it again. That just made me ridiculously happy. Like,
Yeah,
I
so-
love that's what they were working on the whole time.
Yeah. So they have Columbia, the spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
But it's no longer in existence now, which is, tragic, but it's just kind of
Yeah.
a weird thing. It's like whenever you see like the Twin Towers in shows or something, it's kind of like those, whoa, Aw.
Yeah,
I totally
really,
feelings.
it's really tragic. So it's just kind of like it gets you right in the feels.
Yeah, and it is just kind of cool that, I mean, at the time they made it, Columbia was still a thing, so it was
Right.
kind of cool.
Yeah, but
to
it was
see
still sad.
someone working on old spaceships, you know,
Yeah.
and like making them go to space.
Yeah, and I just like the action sequences where you have this like, you know, these people who are pretending to be delivery truck, not spaceship drivers or whatever you call it.
But
and
they're
it's-
pirates,
Yeah, they're
yeah.
pirates, and they have this interesting way of spreading viruses on people's computers, and so they have to chase them all around space and try to deal with that. And the action sequences and the music were super fantastic in this episode. So,
Mm-hmm.
I
Actually-
appreciate that.
Had kind of that Wild West feel to it.
Yeah, it's
That lawlessness.
yeah, it was really really good.
Yeah,
Really
and then Justin Weil at JWile15 on Twitter said, "Holy cow, Doohan put the Columbia back together." I can read that one, guys. I did it. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. It's Tuesday. Anyway,
Tuesday.
I'm bad. But yeah, that was definitely like a highlight of the episode. Like, it was a fun episode overall. It was just kind of cool, like them going on adventures. But I'm antsy because I just want to skip to the next episode because it was so good. And I feel bad because Perot LeFou was definitely a thing that Mitch wanted to talk about. Like, if you guys remember, Mitch was like, "Bring me on when you have this."
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah, that's right, you
Sorry, Mitch.
Nope.
We have Callie.
We have somebody.
Sorry,
coming
Mitch. Yeah, but do you guys have anything to say about episode 19? If not, I really just want to skip to episode 20 because
Let's
it's
go.
so good.
Wait.
The only thing that I was going to say was that the best part about episode 19 for me was that it reminded me of some like Star Trek stuff. So there's that episode where, so the episode where they find Scotty, right? And he like feels like a relic, but then it turns out that, he gets to contribute again. And there's also a Star Trek novel where they have like a similar situation where like they mix old and new technology to like get out of a tight situation. So I really like this episode for reminding me of that.
Yay. Sci-fi. Yay.
Yay. Episode 20.
Miranda, do you want to talk about episode 20?
Wow.
Episode 20, my favorite part about it is just the whole like how random it is, right? Like it starts random and it ends random. Where
It's just like a massive nightmare.
right, well, but it's like that whole like wrong place, wrong time theme. It just like goes like through
Right.
the whole episode.
Yeah, so Del Toro says this really well because what's more exhilarating than a Spike versus Murder Poppins battle in an abandoned music park with creepy music playing in the background, right? Yup.
Nothing is better than that.
Yeah, so
Don't get better.
in this one, you have this assassin dude who cannot be shot. Like he has some
You can't
sort of
stop him.
ability.
Yeah.
Like kind of they
Almost like this force field that comes out. Like I don't know if they injected it into his cells.
Right. It seems
or-
like during they showed some testing on him and how he became who he is, and that that they infused something with his cells so that way whenever bullets are shot at him, they just
bounce off. Of him,
bounce off.
basically.
Yeah. So it's just like whoa.
Also made him go insane.
Yeah, and so like all the tests and like pretty much torture it seemed like when they were training him to be like an assassin, were just awful. And I really like that there was a cat watching him the whole time. It's just like, why is there a cat?
It was really interesting too that like that was his trigger, right? Where of like
Cats.
freaking him out so that it would cause a momentary, sense of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, kitty.
Yeah.
I actually cried at the end. I was actually in tears at my desk because like the first 15 minutes I freaked out. I was like, this is nightmare fuel of epic proportions. And then you see the torture this guy, the ISS puts him through. You can't tell if he's a voluntary or if he is a victim or what it is. They have him in the cell and they do all sorts of awful, inhumane tests on him. And then like at the end when he's going crazy, it turns out that his mind is regressing. And Spike figures out, okay, I can't shoot this guy. So he takes a knife and he stabs him in the leg, and the guy bursts into tears and he keeps crying for his mommy. And I'm in tears, and then he gets crushed by this mechanical machine. But it was just like I was, he gets smooshed, but I was just, it's all about the cruelty of, the ISS or whatever the international police are called, intergalactic police are called. It's like they're doing these terrible things to create the perfect assassin, and they essentially this guy goes
Destroy
crazy.
this guy.
Yeah, and you don't even know if he's like volunteered for it or if they captured him or what they did, but you just know at the end he's regressed to this tiny child. He doesn't know any better anymore, and
there's a lot of really tragic villains.
yeah,
If you remember a few episodes back when we had the kid who was
Yeah, the
who
kid.
forever
Die.
kid, who couldn't die. It's just like childhood is like a torture point almost in Cowboy Bebop. It's just like a very sad time, except for like Faye, but in a way hers was still sad because she didn't get to live
Yeah,
through all of it.
and you still have that contrast though with Ed, right? Where Ed is just very like innocent and nothing really sticks to her yet, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a very dark episode.
It is.
Like you were saying at the beginning, just winding it back a little bit. Spike is just shooting pool just out somewhere, and he walks out and he sees the assassin, killing people, and the assassin sees him. He's like, well, you're gone, and it's kind of one of the weird times when we see Spike struggle against somebody, and Spike gets pretty bad. He has to go to hospital, get all bandaged up, and then he's kind of okay. But then of course, Jet goes on to find out that this assassin is like, if you see his face, you're gonna die. Like he will hunt you down. And it was kind of weird because he didn't even have to really hunt down Spike. Spike just went to him knowing what was happening. And I kind of like that in that final battle, Faye came to help.
Yeah.
It was nice to see that, even though Spike was like, oh, I have to go alone, as I have to go face this might be the last thing, haha, kind of thing.
But he even asks her, would you come rescue me? And she's like, you're an idiot. But you kind of know that the answer is yes. Like they never are very direct about their feelings. They're very elliptical about him almost.
Yeah, it's just kind of nice to see their bond growing and how they kind of take care of each other, even though Spike was like, no, you're just gonna be more trouble kind of thing, because he doesn't want Faye to get hurt or her to get in the way of whatever crazy action thing he's gonna do next. But still, I also liked just at the end was a really hard standoff between them. It's like, he's got a gun, but you've got a knife, so good luck kind of thing.
Yeah.
Bring a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just I laughed actually, which is kind of a weird reaction. Probably doesn't speak well of me, but when the assassin got smushed, I laughed because I'm like, this episode is so much about how random bad happens to you. And oh, bleep. Sorry.
No!
Sorry.
How could you?
I know. I'm a really bad person.
It's okay. I almost did that twice already.
So just really random bad stuff happens to you, right? Because Spike walks out of the pool hall at the wrong freaking time. And then the assassin, everyone doesn't know how they're going to get rid of him. Well, an animatronic, gigantic robot thing just steps on him, and that's it.
Yeah.
That
no, I can see
so
see that there's a sort of dark comedy to it, where she's like, all right, that's how you're going to end it, because I guess, I don't know.
Not even comedy. I think it's just more like well, yeah, that's life. Sometimes you're just walking along and then a bus hits you.
Yeah, just yikes.
Yikes.
I thought we had the same answer.
I laughed because that's just how I respond to it.
Yeah, comedy's not the right word, but it's just, I think it's one of those things where
black comedy is
it sort of breaks your brain. Where you're like, I don't know how to process this. So
yeah, so that was one of the creepiest episodes of Cowboy
easily
Bebop.
It was one of the most tragic and one of the scariest at the same
Right?
time.
Love it.
I'm not surprised that amusement park was abandoned because that place is scary.
Yeah,
that
those
place
weren't
is nightmare fuel.
cute. It's not a cute place.
Not amusing at all.
Yeah, when that dog starts going, I was like, stop. I hate that. It's freaky.
And well, hopefully next week's episodes won't be as, I don't
it
know,
can
they'll
only
probably
go up from
only
here.
get more intense. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can only get more intense
Yeah,
from
because
here.
there's only, we only have four to six more episodes.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
only 3 weeks left of Cowboy Bebop for our anime watch party. I
And
can't believe
so-
it's already ending.
So based on our vote, we will be watching another show next. I asked if you guys wanted to watch a show or a movie, and so most of you guys voted for a show, so we'll continue on with the shows. And also, other results from the poll, the favorite, not the best, the favorite show of last season was How to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon. Or is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Danmachi. So that's what most people voted for. So it's cool. And
A
then
lot
Food
of
Wars.
Hestia fans.
Yeah, Food Wars. And, yeah. She's pretty cool, though. I like her.
My love story.
It's all about the love story.
It's all.
Okay, guys, so I think we're done. But also, next week we're watching, episode 21 and 22, so make sure you join in the anime watch party because we like to talk to you guys and hear your thoughts about Cowboy Bebop.
Yes, send in more of your comments. They're really good.
Yeah, I always enjoy reading them. Yeah, so that is the end of the show.
Yay!
Anyways, you can follow me on Twitter at HavocRose. Megan.
Megan, MEGHN_IGN.
I am at Morphing Ball.
I am at Inky Dojiko, which is DOJIKKO. That's hard. Yeah.
This is
Words.
how we end a mess of an episode. All right, thank you guys so much for hanging in with us, and we will see you next week. Bye. Bye, guys.